Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm, and this is episode 3 in our series on how to program our 2D game or 2D side-scrolling platformer game, whatnot. In the last video, we covered basic movement here, so jumping and moving. I set mine to use the buttons on my Super Nintendo controller, but you're going to be testing this out on PC, so you're probably, or on your keyboard, so you're probably going to use that. But either way, we have movement set up. And the next thing I want to do is I want the camera to follow me so I can jump around through this level and test out the whole level and make sure it works. So let's open up our shell of a cam follow script here. And some of you may be already ahead of me. You may be thinking, you know what? He taught us how to do camera follow in the previous project, and so I'm just going to use that camera follow script and make that work. The problem is it doesn't really work exactly the way we want it to. It puts our player in the dead center of the camera, and the camera shows too much of what I don't want to see. So in this script, this is going to be a much better camera follow script, and this camera follow script is actually going to be applicable to almost any 2D project that you set up. It's going to be pretty universal, so this is a good script to know. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to create a transform, a public transform, and we'll call this tracking target. This is going to be the thing the camera is going to try to track throughout the scene, right? It's pretty easy stuff. So that is where we're going to put our player in this tracking target variable. All right, then we need some offsets. We're going to create a public float. We'll call this X offset and a public float Y offset. This is going to allow us to make our camera offset a little bit so that our character is not in the dead center of the screen. It's going to allow us to push the camera to the right of the player and up a little bit so that our player is not in the middle. He's kind of, or she's kind of in the bottom left-hand corner. Cool. And then we need a public float follow speed. Oh, so that we can have our camera follow our player at a specific speed. And the next two things we want, public bool, we want some Boolean values, and we're going to call this is X locked. And we'll actually set that to false to start with, false. And public bool is Y locked. And for this script, I'm going to set that to true. I want Y to be locked. Now what this is going to allow us to do with these, how we're going to use these variables, is we're going to turn on and off this lock to make the camera not be able to move up or down or left or right. And for this game, we're just going to have it lock the Y so that the camera does not move up and down with the player when we're jumping. That's going to make it feel a little bit more stable. Plus, if we take a look at our game here, let's go to the scene view. Notice that some of the art assets stop directly where the camera stops. So I don't want to be able to jump under this tree and see that the tree is cut in half, right? And the whole level is set up so that it falls perfectly within this range of this camera. Let me grab my move. So this whole level is set up so all the art assets fall directly in the range of this camera. So I can lock my Y value on my camera and I'll never see outside the level, which is great. That's how I want it. Okay, so I'm going to lock my Y. And then I'm going to set another couple of variables. These are going to be the min and max positions for the camera. So min position equals, I'm gonna set those in the codes or in the editor. So float max position. Okay, so what that's going to do, we're going to use these to tie our camera or keep our camera from being able to float off the edge of the screen on both the X or on the extreme left and the extreme right. We don't want the camera to be able to just go past this area. So we're just constraining our camera a little bit more. Okay, so now we have our variables set up. Now this looks big and scary because we're using a lot of variables, but the coding is actually not that much, not that complicated. Void update. And inside of our update method, we are going to float X target equals tracking target dot position dot x plus our x offset. And then float y target equals tracking target dot position dot y plus y offset. So those two variables that we just now created in the update, those are just finding where our tracking targets positions x and y are, and then adding those offset variables to them so that we can push our camera a little bit out of the way. Then next we need another float. Let's call this x new, and this is going to be transform dot position dot x. So we just want to get where our camera's x is. Okay, and we'll do if x is not locked. So is locked. So basically what we're doing here is we're checking to see if x is locked. If it's not locked, then we're going to do this next thing, which is x new equals math dot mathf dot lerp. And this we did do in the previous camera controller using this lerping function to go from one to another, one object to another. Time dot delta time times follow speed. There we go. So basically all we're doing is we're going to take our transform position x, which is this new float, right? And then we're going to update it to what our current position x is. And we're going to move that from there to the x target to at a speed of time dot delta time times follow speed. So that's a lerping function that we've already been doing before. Now, because I know I'm not going to need that y to follow us because I'm turning y off, because I want this to be the kind of script that we can use over and over again, and maybe we have a project where the y isn't locked and the y is going to be, I need to copy this one too. Let's say we have a platformer that's more vertical than horizontal. Then we can turn the y on and lock the x and use this here instead of the x. It should still work without this stuff that I'm doing now, but it's literally just copying and pasting and changing some variables. And then, like I said, we have a versatile script that we can use forever in all of our 2D side-scrolling games. Okay, so that's just going to check to see if y is locked and if x is locked. All right, beautiful. Okay, what's next? Then we need to set in our positions. So we're going to use this cool thing called x new equals mathf dot clamp. So mathf dot clamp is literally just going to set, let's write this out first, then I'll explain it. Max position. Okay, clamp is going to clamp a specific variable in between two values. So it's going to make it so that it cannot grow bigger than the max and smaller than the min. So this x new variable here, which is controlling where our camera is on the x-axis, we want to clamp that so that it doesn't move past the min and past the max. Now again, if we want this to be a more versatile script, we would do the same thing for new, and we'd actually probably have max x position, or min x position, min max x position, and then we'll have a min y and max y, and then use those variables here if we wanted to. But again, for this project, I know we're not going to use them, so I'm just going to keep it like this. But for, later use, we could easily add those things in. Okay, and then I need to actually transform dot position, and it's going to be new vector 3, because it is a game object that has 3 variables. New y new transform dot position dot z. Oh, so there we go. So this is the line of code that actually makes that camera do something. That's our entire camera follow script. And like I said, it's not that complicated. And this is the kind of versatile script you can use for every project from now on. I'm going to save this, go back to my game, and make sure my camera follow script is working the way it's supposed to. All right. So first I need to assign my tracking target, which is my player. And then I have an X offset and a Y offset. Let's change the X offset to, let's try 3, and the Y offset to 2. Let's set the follow speed to 2. Y is locked. My min position. So to figure this stuff out, what we need to grab this camera and move it all the way over to the extreme left of the level, and we'll put it just about there so we have some buffer. And then we look at our position on the X. It's -2.22. So I'll put that in, -2.22. And then for max, we'll come, zoom out even more, come all the way over, and we'll set him to about there. And we'll say that the maximum is 97.79. So 97.79. Perfect. Now let's play the game and let's see if we can do stuff. All right, so the camera snaps to my character. Now the reason why we had that weird snap, let's watch it again, is because my camera starts at the very opposite end of the level, so it scrolls through. And that follow speed is 2, so it scrolls through kind of slow, and I get that weird jolty feeling. I'm actually going to just push it there for now, so we don't have that much of a, there we go. We have a little bit of a floatiness to the camera. Okay, so now the camera's following us. It won't go past there. I can jump. The camera's going to come with me. I can go all the way to the end of the level. Boom, boom, boom. And the camera won't go past that area either. So now we have a fully functioning camera. I might want to change my follow speed because it looks like I'm able to run past past the edge of the camera there, but that works for me. Now notice that that offset is working perfectly. Again, instead of being in the dead center, oh, come on. Instead of being in the dead center of the camera, my character is down and to the left, which is what I want. Okay, so one last thing real quick. I want to go over that parallax project, or that parallax script that we created that last time. Mine is going to be called background. I'm going to go over this real quick because this won't take long. And then in the next video, we can cover the last couple things, the last 2 scripts. Let's, opening up my notes here. Don't look at it, no. Okay. So we've already done this before. We've done parallaxing in the previous project. So I'm going to kind of explain while I'm going through render. But this is literally, nope. This is literally just a copy of what we did last time with the parallax script. So okay, foreground, public, float, background, speed. Actually, I think in the last project we didn't have this foreground and the background, if I remember correctly. So all we're doing is just adding another variable. And look, here's the best part. You can add as many variables as you want for the amount of layers that you have in your background. For me, I have 3, but I'm only programming 2 of them because that third background, the static background, is not going to move at all. So that I'm just leaving alone. Offset equals 0.5 F. All right, and then we want to do a couple things in the oh, 0.5f. Then we want to do a couple things in the, oh no, not public. Let's do void update. Okay. Float background offset equals offset times background speed float foreground offset equals offset times foreground speed. Okay, we're grabbing our offset, background dot material dot main texture offset equals new vector 2 background offset 0. What's next? Yeah, that's just it. Background offset and 0. And we'll do the same thing here. I'm just going to copy and paste. Copy. Hello. There we go. And paste. And we will change this to foreground. And we'll change this to foreground. Okay, perfect. That's our entire parallax script. Let's save that. The only other thing we have to do is if we go into our player script, we have to set that offset somewhere in our player script. So let's see, where was that again? I'm blanking. Oh, yeah, that was there at the end of my update method. So after we've done all the movement, then we parallax dot offset equals transform dot position dot x. And actually, I didn't call this parallax, did I? I called it background. So we need to create a reference to that. So let's go up here to my variables, and we will create a public background, because I'm calling that background script, parallax. So now it should work. We're good there. I'm going to save that, and let's go back to our script. All right, so let's go to our main camera. No, player. There we go. Let's go to our player. Come on, think faster. Come on. You know you wanna. All right, there we go. Player, and let's go to our player script here and take a look. We have parallax. All I have to do is grab this entire parallax camera object, dump it right there. Then if we look at that object here, we have background, foreground, and then some offset values. Let's click that little triangle there. Static, we're not going to play with. Background, we just drag that right in there to background. Foreground, we drag that right in there to foreground. All right, I'm going to hit play, test this out, make sure it works, make sure my parallaxing works, and it does. And again, like I said in the first video on this project, that speed, oh, you know what? I changed my camera speed, and I changed it in the opposite direction from what I wanted. Follow speed. Let's set it to 4. Anyway, so that speed of that foreground, I think it's actually going a little bit too fast. So let's bring this down to 3. A lot of game development is just playing around with variables to see what actually works for you. And the foreground looks better now, but that background seems like it's going faster than it should. So let's change this to 1. Okay. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. All right, looks a lot better. Okay, so now we have our parallaxing going, and we have our movement and jumping, and we have a camera follow script. Honestly, we're very close to done. Now we just have to tie in all the relationships with all of these objects, and collect them, and all that stuff. So cool. That's going to be it for this video. This was kind of a longer video. It's about 20 minutes. But at this point, you're almost done with the game. You've got a lot done. So now I'm going to move on to these last two scripts we need. I'm going to add some stuff to the player. We're going to work on this collect script, and then at the very end we'll do this end game script, which is going to be super simple. But I should only need probably one more video, maybe two if it gets too long. Who knows? We'll see as we build this. But I will see you in the next video. Thanks for paying attention. I hope you're having fun with this project. See ya.